Welcome to Equal Ground Headlines. I am Samuel B. Williams, bringing you balanced coverage on our top stories of the day. After weeks of terse rhetoric, Washington and Ottawa are finally talking, but a trade showdown is still looming. U.S. President Donald Trump and Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke by phone Friday in what both sides described as a productive conversation. It was their first direct contact since Carney took office earlier this month, and it comes at a tense moment. Trump is poised to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian exports starting next week, a move that's jolted the decades-old friendship between the two countries. By all accounts, the call went better than many expected. Trump, never one for understatement, posted on social media that "We agree on many things," and announced how I'll meet with Carney immediately after Canada's upcoming election to hammer out a new economic and security partnership. Carney, for his part, struck a firm but cordial tone. He has characterized Trump's tariff threat as a betrayal of a close ally, yet he remains open to negotiation. In Friday's call, Carney reiterated that if the U.S. goes ahead with tariffs on April 2nd, Canada will retaliate in kind, something his office confirmed in a statement. Let's unpack the backdrop. Mark Carney, a former central banker with global renown, just became Canada's Prime Minister after winning the Liberal Party leadership on March 9th. He succeeded Justin Trudeau and is leading the country into a snap federal election set for April 28. It's been a baptism by fire. Mere weeks into his tenure, he's confronted with an aggressive U.S. trade policy that threatens Canada's economy. Trump's tariff plan, rumored to target steel, aluminum, and possibly autos, has sent shockwaves through Canadian industries. In fact, Canada's economy was already under strain early this year, and the tariff threat is making things worse. Canadian business confidence has wavered, and the Bank of Canada warned that U.S. trade actions could hit growth. Carney responded with steely resolve. Just yesterday, he unveiled a plan to transform Canada's economy to be less dependent on the United States, a long-term strategy, acknowledging that the era of easy U.S.-Canada trade might be ending. In the short term, he's preparing matching tariffs on American goods, aiming to protect Canadian workers if Trump pulls the trigger. One striking aspect of the U.S.-Canada spat is how personal it got with Carney's predecessor. Trump had frequently belittled Justin Trudeau, even jokingly calling him the governor of the 51st state rather than a head of government. In contrast, Trump has shown Carney a modicum of respect so far, referring to him by his proper title. That might seem trivial, but in diplomacy it matters. Canadian officials cautiously hoped this signals a more pragmatic dynamic. Still, Trump has been unyielding on his core demand. He wants to rewrite the economic terms of the U.S.-Canada relationship, which he claims have unfairly favored Canada. Never mind that the two countries enjoy one of the world's largest and most balanced trading partnerships. Trump insists America has been taken advantage of, and he's willing to use tariffs as leverage. Interestingly, Carney and Trump agreed on something important: to begin negotiations on a new economic and security partnership right after Canada's election. That suggests both sides prefer a comprehensive deal rather than tit-for-tat escalation. Such talks could cover everything from tariffs to supply chains to border security. Carney likely hopes to fold the tariff issue into a broader pact, rather than deal with it in isolation under duress. Meanwhile, everyday Canadians and Americans are already feeling jitters. The mere prospect of tariffs has contributed to a slide in the Canadian dollar, and has business groups lobbying hard on both sides of the border. U.S. importers of Canadian goods, like car parts and lumber, are warning of higher prices and lost jobs if the duties hit. And Canada has drawn up a list of U.S. exports it would target in retaliation, reported to include items like U.S. beef, fruits, and even some state-specific products to exert political pressure on Trump. All this is happening against the backdrop of a once unimaginable chill in relations. The U.S. and Canada have been staunch allies for over a century, sharing not just trade but deep security ties, e.g., NORAD defense. That bond was tested during Trump's first term, but held. Now, with Trump back in office, relations deteriorated rapidly. Trump is even mused about annexing Canada, though presumably tongue-in-cheek. Such comments, however unserious, rattled Canadians and underscored the need for Carney to stand firm. Looking ahead, much hinges on April 2nd. That's when Trump is expected to formally announce the tariffs. If he delays or suspends them, it would be a sign that diplomacy is gaining ground. If he proceeds, expect Canada to respond immediately with counter-tariffs, and the fledgling Carney-Trump rapport will be put to the test. The April 28 Canadian election adds another twist. Carney is campaigning while simultaneously negotiating with Washington. Being seen as a strong defender of Canada's interests against a bully could boost him at the polls, but any economic fallout from a trade war could just as easily hurt him. For now, at least, the two leaders have hit the pause button on the heated rhetoric and are talking about solutions. The world's longest peaceful border has seen more tension in recent weeks than in recent memory. The hope is that cooler heads will prevail in Washington and Ottawa, leading to a deal that modernizes U.S. Canada ties without the pain of an all-out trade war. Both economies, and indeed many American and Canadian workers' livelihoods, ride on the outcome.